So, what is the point of putting yourself out there? What's the point of sharing the knowledge that you've spent your life up until this moment accumulating? Fundamentally, it's to not just promote your own worth, not just promote your own sense of worthiness, but it's to promote the thing that you have the most control over, really, which is the values people associate with you when you choose to speak up. There's no real value in playing small. There's no real value in hiding from the limelight. There's no real value in saying to the world, yeah, this act of promoting my work, this act of putting myself out there, this act of exposing what I'm living through, that's too public. That's too, what's the word, attention seeking. Like these projections, these stories, these limitations, really, that's always what has us play small. That it's not that you have to be in front of the camera and show your face, but it doesn't help anyone when you say to yourself, the work that I've been investing my life into shouldn't be promoted by me. That deeply has sat with me for most of my life. This belief that we should work hard and help others achieve their dreams. But the second when we start expressing our wants or our needs, what we believe we need, the second we start becoming aware of what that is first, and then second start learning what it means to promote our needs in a way that's not needy, that's not like, you must do this for me, but rather, these are my dreams, fundamentally. This is what I believe to be this is what I hold to be true, and this is what I am working towards. And I find that these two things align in such a way that I can imagine a dream where these needs, wants, beliefs, and these actions I'm taking to fulfill a goal feed into a larger vision. And that's fundamentally it. However, as basic as these building blocks are, they mean nothing until they are publicly communicated. It's taken me quite some time to really sit with that, because even at the beginning of this year, I had the breakthrough of how much I've been resisting the notion of having wants. For the longest time, I was always trained that someone else's wants, or even my own wants, were some form of egoic damnation. Like I was cringing at the notion of every time I said, well, I want this, and then I'd have some internal voice that'd say, well, I want what others want. So it got to such a point where even the act of expressing that I want something, I not only would repress it, I would curse at it, I would damn at it, so that even when I heard someone else say they wanted something, I would run the other way. Which is problem number one if you're pursuing a meaningful life. Like, how does life have any meaning if you cannot imbue the things you desire, the things that you want, with value? This has been a massive journey for me. As I record these thoughts out loud, I start learning how much relaxation, how much breath I have, how much easier it is to breathe in knowing that it's safe to express my wants. Because fundamentally, the world's a safe place. The world's a kind place. Yes, there's a lot of troubled people. Yes, there's a lot of dangerous things that do happen. Yes, the world, the earth could open up and just swallow us. Like, these are realities. But just because there is things to be afraid of, just because we project a lot of honest fears, doesn't mean we should collapse the things that we value and hold true because we're afraid of what might happen, because we're afraid we might not get it. Like, ultimately, that is playing small. Ultimately, that is what has this notion of pursuing one's dreams is worthless, because you're never going to get it, because rarely do people ever get it, because it's like trying to win the lottery. Like, these are stories I've been hearing my entire life, and it's only through a lot of personal development, a lot of meditation, a lot of self-care, self-help. Like, it's ridiculous that even the notion of self-help is imbued with such skepticism, such loathing, such criticism, because a lot of the act of thinking positively has already been shown to be useless. Like, you can't just think positively. Well, people do, but I mean, it's been muddied because the act of thinking positively obviously doesn't lead to direct action. And things need to be done, like messages need to be conveyed, things need to be heard and appreciated as valuable. Otherwise nothing gets done, obviously. But see, the very first misstep there is the belief that something inherently needs to be, blood, sweat, and tears. Something needs to be struggled for. We like to say the struggle is real. I mean, the struggle, from everything I've been reading and everything I've been understanding, is always internal at the end of the day. It's always from that place of struggling to accept that if you want to deliver something valuable to someone, for instance, like, to be more specific, if you wanted to buy a gift for someone, you would go and get the gift, right? You wouldn't struggle to get that gift. You might be wondering, what is this gift they would appreciate the most? But there's no struggle there. Like, the struggle is real for as long as we make the struggle real. Like, how does that Henry Ford quote go? Whether you think you're wrong, or whether you think you can, or whether you think you can't, you're right. Which, in other words, is no matter what your thoughts are that you hold to be true, that is correct. And that's not to say that someone else who holds different ideas is then incorrect, because they are correct too. And this is where we have the biggest difference. This is where we have the biggest conflict, because there's no greater distance than the distance between two minds. I'm sure there are things that I'm saying in this present moment that maybe they resonate with you, maybe they don't. Maybe you might think to yourself at some point, like, does he have a point that he's trying to get to? Is there a central thesis to everything that's being said? And if that's what's causing you to get frustrated, then that's your truth. And I'm sure other people will agree with you too. I've heard that several times myself, and I know that people don't want to hear someone go on and on and on. They want one point so that they can run with it, and then they can go about their day as they see fit. And I'm sure I can make videos like that too. This is just not one of those videos. The number one thing about this video that I get to demonstrate, lead by example, is to embody that which I have a hard time finding in the world out there, which is not just a stream of consciousness, not just sort of speaking for the sake of speaking, but rather speaking that carries with it, for me at least, a sense of flow. I mean, there's one guy who does this amazingly well, Jason Silva. It's, what does he call it? It's kind of like, not thought poetry, but it's freestyling with words without making it like a rap thing. It's a flow of consciousness that is, there is a central thesis. The one that I started from was of developing that sense of promotion in yourself, promoting your work, promoting your thoughts, promoting the value that you know that you cherish. And that comes from, once again, your beliefs. It comes from owning the fact that you have inherent value. Like, these are concepts that it's taken me a while to sit with, because I wasn't taught them originally. I was taught that value was something I had to work to get. I was told that value was through education, was through schooling, and if I failed at schooling, then that meant I had no value, which is the biggest load of shit. It really is. If there's one thing that pisses me off most about the schooling system, it's that in the act of trying to discipline worth, like, this is an A grade, that's worth an A, and that's an F. I at least never had the conversation that regardless of what grade you were given, your worth cannot be touched. That there is this core to you that will continue to create, whether or not you get an A or not in school. With the amount of books I've read, which have all touched on the same fact, that their English teacher said they were shit at writing, and then now they're writing books. So, if we hold these things to be true, that they're writing books that are valuable, that I've gotten value from, and then the English teacher in academia said that they sucked at writing, then something clearly doesn't add up. And this all feeds into that central point of owning your worth, promoting the work you do, regardless of what your judgments have been so far. You've got to believe in your heart of hearts that your worth isn't dictated by an academic institution or by a series of critics, but your worth is led from a place of surrender. Your worth is led from a place of willingness to believe that your intuition isn't completely wrong, that you have a lot of valuable ideas and thoughts that not only can be appreciated by others, but it can be that others, when they hear it, the way you speak it, it'll help them grow. Because no other person has the life that you live. I mean, the amount of times I've been criticized by my own parents for going on in this manner, it's partly why it's taken me so long to even allow myself to speak publicly like this, because I've always been told to keep it short. I mean, most teachers, most academics, I'm sure most parents, they all come from a place of love, because it's the same thing they were taught in their system, that no one has time to hear your shit. Get to the point, and then get on with your day, and then do the work, meaning labor in some way, some form of job. And that's not to say that job itself is wrong, because maybe through your work, your career, that's actually where you get to speak. Maybe that's where you get to really hone the craft of the words you bring life to. And still, it's important that if that is the case in your career, that you bring that to the world at large. This is the great thing about social media nowadays. Now more than ever, I feel like I know there's a statistic out there. It was at the beginning of 2019, beginning of this year, where the amount of, I think, money being spent on digital media now has surpassed that of analog. It's always been kind of neck and neck, and now it is broken the norm. It's broken the average ad spend. Not even watch time. See if I can find that. I'll share it probably in the next video. But yeah, that's my key concept, my key idea that I hope I can drive home with this talk, the first one that I'm leading with, which is, at its very core, not to collapse your idea of promoting your work, not to condemn yourself to a life of playing small because you don't want to be criticized, or because you believe what your third grade teacher said, that you suck at public speaking, or you suck at writing, or that you're really not that creative, so really, like, you have no value here. Like, a nice sort of way of tying that up in 3 words for all the people who are still listening. Like, here's the gift. By the end of this talk, what I tend to find is, like, I get to make a thesis, or at least I get to really surmise what I'm getting to, which is, you are no fixed thing. at no point in time will you ever stay 100% the same. Like, this is a scientific fact. This is a philosophical and spiritual fact that our stream of consciousness, the very thing that I'm speaking from right now, that is, you have like 60,000 thoughts a day. This is another fact. It's just that we tend to harp on the same thoughts because, well, we are in our own minds. And that's the great thing about books, that's the great thing about podcasts, that's the great thing about the media landscape we live in today. The more we learn to tune in to certain individuals that we really appreciate, the more we actually get to step outside of the little maddening thought universe, and we get to find the very things that have healed other people and start to heal us. Because it tends to be the case that, and this has definitely been the case for me, that until I really allowed myself to listen to other people, to listen to different thoughts, to really become aware of how maddening it can be to live in just my own mind, the act of self-acceptance, the act of personal development, the act of self-compassion, self-love, growth was impossible because I criticized, because I denigrated, because I doubted, because I thought it was all full of shit. So, like, this is venturing into a new topic, I know, but like, once again, promote the value that you stand for, because it lives outside of you. It is an infinite value. That's another topic I look forward to talking about. Infinite games. Like, this is a value that lived before you. This is a value that will precede you after you pass away, after I pass away. And all we're doing right now is we're saying, like, this is who I am. This is how I have to show up. This is the value I have to speak to, because this just makes me come alive. And I know that the root core of everything, all we want in this world to get through the day-to-day is to be around more people who have come alive, because then they remind us, they show us how to do it. And I know that's like fact number one. The number one thing that drives me through the day is the artistry of individual spirits, or a collective group of spirits that have come together, that have made a meaningful piece of artwork, that have spoken truth to the public, that have displayed themselves in such a way that you're just like, whoa, they spoke to me. So, yeah, this has been kind of a long one. For anyone who's tuned in for this long, let me know that this resonates with you, that you're on a similar train to appreciating your life's work, appreciating the kind of energy that makes you come alive. I'm looking to connect with other creators, conscious creators, co-creators, yeah. Creatives, I guess. Conscious co-creatives, yes. Dreamers, visionaries. You know who you are. And you know the kind of energy that you'd love to equally appreciate, to have that sustainable interest. Okay, I'm gonna leave it on that note. Keep on appreciating that thing that sustains you, that makes you thrive. And I will connect with you in the next video. Peace.